Okay, so we'll look at three situations or three opportunities where we can introduce chromaticism into our playing. The first one is when we play the notes of an arpeggio, we can include the notes in between, or what we call as the outside notes, to get some effect of chromaticism going. Similarly, when we play the notes of a scale, we can again include the in-between notes to introduce chromaticism. The third one is what I like to call as a melodic fragment or a pattern. And this one I'd like to elucidate better with an example later. What I should like to emphasize though is that underneath all three situations or opportunities, if we employ three basic tenets, it would ensure that our chromatic phrase generally sounds good. The first one is that we should try and use a chordal note on the strong beat. The second one is that the note on the strong beat should get a longer duration compared to the other notes in the chromatic phrase. The third one is that the note on the strong beat should be arrived at from a tendency note, such that these two notes form what is called as a tendency pair, which ultimately enhances the overall effect of the chromatic phrase. Now let's look at some of the examples where I'll introduce these three situations in no particular order. I'll start off with the two examples that I used in the previous lessons to highlight strong beat 1. The first was an example in the major key. I'll use the key of B major. The chords went like this: C sharp minor 7 going to F sharp dominant 7 going to B major 7, and the chromatic phrase thrown in was something like this. Chromatic phrase played slow would be something like this. So let's investigate what this chromatic phrase really looks like. Now we could look at it two ways. The first way is to look at it as the notes of the B major 7 arpeggio. Now the B major 7 arpeggio has notes this way: major 7th, root, which is B, major 3rd, 5th, major 7, root. And our phrase starts off from the perfect 5th, and then it moves to the augmented 4th. Now this is not part of the arpeggio. Perfect 4th is also not part of it. Major 3rd is, major 2nd is not there, minor 2nd is not there, root is there, major 7th is there, and back to the root. So we've got 4 notes that are part of the arpeggio and 4 notes that are outside, and hence are creating the chromatic aspect of it. So now a similar example I played in the minor key also. I'll choose the key of B minor, and I'll start off with C sharp minor 7 flat 5 going to F sharp dominant 7 going to B minor 7, and the chromatic phrase thrown in was something like this. The chromatic phrase played slow was something like this. And this time I could think of these notes as primarily the notes of the B harmonic minor scale. And the harmonic minor scale has notes this way, starting from B, and that are the notes of the B harmonic minor scale. In our phrase, we start from the minor 6th, is there in the scale, 5th is also there in the scale, augmented 4th is not there, perfect 4th is there, minor 3rd is there, major 2nd is there, minor 2nd is not there, root, major 7th, root. So again, we end up with a situation where in the phrase we have 2 outside notes and 6 notes from the B harmonic minor scale. So that's an indication that we're choosing the notes from the B harmonic minor scale. And next, against both these examples, I want to see if you're faring well with the 3 tenets that we set out right at the outset. Now the first tenet said that use a chordal note on the strong beat. Now remember, when I mean a chordal note is that we're playing against a backing, and that's the chord that we're talking of. Even if you're playing the notes of the scale against that chord, we're talking about using the chordal note on the strong beat. So the backing chord being B minor 7, if I look at my first phrase, which goes something like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. The strong beat that we've chosen is beat 1, and we're landing on Do. This is Do with respect to the chord B minor 7. So the first tenet is being adhered to. We are playing a chordal note on the strong beat. The note is Do. Now are we giving it a larger duration or a longer duration? Yes, we are. I think so. Let's see. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. case, the rest of the notes were played as eighth notes, which basically means that they get half a beat each, while the final note do got a half note, that is, it gets 2 beats. So we are good there too. And finally, what note did we choose to arrive at the strong note? Now, just the previous note in both examples, even in the major example, was the note T, or the major 7 going to the root. T in solfege syllable going to do makes what we call as a very powerful tendency pair because of the urge of the note T to want to resolve to do. T going to do. So there we have it, all 3 basic tenets we've applied in both these examples.